So let me guess, you want a lot of obsidian, but you don't want to have to wrangle an evil god to make it happen. I mean, even professional Minecrafters can struggle with withers sometimes.
Another good shot!
Ah! I'm going insane! It's so annoying! This is the hardest thing I've ever done. I don't think anyone enjoys this.
Let me introduce a farm that I think is the best solution to this problem. It's simple. It's not anything crazy, but there's a really good chance that it is all that you need. This is Minecraft for the people. So here is the entirety of this dirt cheap farm. And oh yeah, it makes more than 1400 obsidian every hour without a beacon. So you might think, wow, those rates sound really bad in comparison to the wither farms. And if you compare rates alone, then that is certainly true. However, consider how much obsidian you really need for a big project. The base rate of this farm alone is enough obsidian every hour to build this popular version of Zardor's gold farm in only 4.5 hours of AFK time. Only the highest obsidian demands in Minecraft would need better rates than this simple farm is able to provide. Before we go further, I'd like to thank Big Booty 17 and Phaser of TMCC for their good ideas that went into this farm. I made this version that you see in my video, but it likely wouldn't be quite as good if they weren't involved. There will be a chapter of this video later on for the tutorial for this design, but first let's try to understand the farm and see how this is all possible. This farm is very simple, so instead of doing a long explanation section, just go watch my previous video if you want to know how force portals and nether portals in general work. There's a lot of info in there and there's not much point in repeating it here. So if our goal is to make the easiest obsidian farm with no withers, let me tell you why I think force portals are the best option for this. Using the obsidian pillars that can regenerate is extremely expensive and requires a dragon killer. Using the in-platform block breaking could work now, but the logistics to farm lava at this scale requires a pretty large and complex build, and mining the platform itself also works, but has the downside of there only being one of these in each world, so you'd have to sacrifice a different build at the same place. So that leaves us with the previously unexplored option of player mined nether portal obsidian farming. The reason that, to my knowledge, people haven't made this until we started spitballing in TMCC the other day is because it won't work well with anything other than a forced nether portal, and you can see one of those right behind me here. Forced nether portals require knowing how the game works a little bit, which means that channels that put really low effort into farm design like Day 6, Shulkercraft, and Voltrox and others won't be getting here anytime soon. If you broke a normal nether portal anywhere on the frame, it would be impossible for the game to generate another one the same exact place unless you mined all of the top blocks before the next generation, which is logistically a little hard to accomplish simply. However, the force portal doesn't care about any blocks that may already be in the world. It destroys them all and completely obliterates them to the sands of time. It can generate in the same exact place as frequently as we like, with easy restrictions on where we can mine out the portal before regen occurs. So how do we make sure that the portal continues to generate here every time? Well, the first thing we need to do is find a pretty large lava lake with a high ceiling in the nether to ensure that we don't have any normal portal generation areas immediately around where we want our farm to go. But more on that portion in the tutorial. The top of a force portal frame is itself a 1x4 area that can spawn a regular portal if we mine anywhere except for the top bar here, as you can see. But don't worry, because we can just interrupt this with placing any block on the top here. So that means that if we break that block, it no longer can generate because there's not a 1x4 area up here anymore. So that means that we can now mine any of the portal frame blocks and always get it to reset in this one area, which is pretty cool. So one more thing to consider is the entity that actually causes the generation itself. And in this case, I am using snowballs from a very simple snow golem setup. You can pretty much set this up anywhere except for in a hot biome, which is the one restriction on where you can place this side. Over here, we just have a zombie in a boat with a little slab above to make sure that he doesn't die from the daytime damage. And we've also blocked in the snow golem just to make sure that there's no zombies or baby zombies that can get in here and affect him. So as you can see, a zombie can't actually see the snow golem through the portal block, so you don't have to worry about any of them maybe targeting them and going through the portal and then killing the player once they're already over there. It shouldn't ever be an issue. One thing to note is that this mechanic where you can generate a portal from an entity other than the player is only in 1.21.0 and up. So these snowballs are going to the overworld at 20 game tick intervals, which is also 1 second exactly. And this means that the nether side chunks are going to be loaded by these entities going through, but we don't have anything to come through the portal and load the chunks on this side. So I just have a little pearl, and we have to make sure that that pearl is in the same chunk as the snow golem in order to keep its entities loaded. So pearl and snow golem and portal all need to be in the same chunk. And so you could set up a two-way chunk loader system to accomplish this as well, and that's what Booty's version is based off of. I found it really hard to advocate for anything other than this just stupid simple setup right here. And one more quick thing is that you can turn the generation on and off with this lever right here. So if you unpower the lever, it will close the fence gate and make it to where the golem no longer shoots, and so you won't be generating on the other side. And if you power it, it will open and it will start generating. If you install the snow golem like is shown in the tutorial, you'll never have any issues with this, but if the snow golem's hitbox was maybe a little bit more towards the portal, this might not work, so just be careful to follow the tutorial there. To me, this type of farm is just make it as easy as possible, because if you're okay with doing more, then you should probably be okay with building a wither setup anyway, so let's just make this as simple as we possibly can. And as you can see, if you don't have something to break the snowballs, then they will build up a lot over time at the edge of the entity taking chunks. But don't worry, the setup where the players here actually make sure that these snowballs are blocked and will just kind of be destroyed, so you don't have to worry about that. So the farm works by just allowing the player to mine 2 blocks in a row and collecting the drops with hoppers. If you start with a fully mended pickaxe every time, then it means that we can use a specific storage amount that will fill up before our pickaxe runs out. This is the configuration for a fully enchanted netherite pick, which is what I'd recommend using. The shutoff condition is when the farm fills, we use a comparator to detect this and push the player up where their crosshairs are now on the purple portal itself, which won't use any of our durability anymore. This will make sure that your pickaxe never breaks. And we really want to make sure that no gas can ever see the player and that no snowballs can ever accumulate on the edge of the lazy chunks, so we can add blocks around here to be more safe. You'll want to make sure it's made out of any stone so that it's blast proof from any fireballs that do ever hit it. And lastly, a trapdoor on the inside here works wonders to access storage and be safe from gas as well. This next part is kind of weird, so I'll try and summarize it as quickly as I can. The rates of the farm are not just how many obsidian you can mine every hour. Because obsidian is mined in a discrete amount of time and the portal is regenerated every 20 game ticks, it means that you need to either spam entities coming through the portal to regenerate really fast, or you can do a very simple setup like what I have, find the ideal number of blocks that you can mine in a row in order to get as close to the maximum rates as possible with a simple setup. So in this setup with the force portal, we have the choice of mining either 1, 2, or 3 blocks of obsidian before the portal resets, and that is the only numbers that we can do if the player is to remain stationary, which is kind of preferred because it's a lot more simple. And of course that all changes if you have a beacon, because it changes the timings as well. And I will be dropping a little chart in the description. You can use the farm with any pickaxe that can mine obsidian. It's just going to be a little bit slower or not fill up quite as much of this chest. So refer to the chart for whatever pickaxe you'll be using. I would personally recommend a fully enchanted netherite pickaxe because you're going to need that anyway. So that's just my recommendation. And I'm doing this just because I think a mending system would be way too complicated for this sort of farm. I once again want to make simplicity the main goal here. I want to eliminate all the reasons why someone might not want to build this. I mean, 7,000 obsidian is a lot of obsidian. You can do a lot with just that one batch. If you wanted more than that, you can just mend your pickaxe and come back, or take some bottles of enchanting here with you. It's not that difficult. So I'm going to go ahead and jump straight into the tutorial, but before we do that, I want to give a quick plug for my merch. If you're tired of only seeing Minecraft merch that's made for 9-year-olds, then you'll probably like what I've made here. Every design is custom made by me, including this new Microsoft Block Simulator shirt, which I think is pretty epic. And all of my pricing and markup information is fully transparent on each product page, which I think is pretty cool. It is something you don't see a lot these days. This way you know exactly how much is going to Fourth Wall and exactly how much is going to me. And if you'd like to browse through what I have, there is a link in the description. Now let's go back to this tutorial. The main thing you need to be aware of is that we absolutely must choose a good site for the farm in order to avoid the hassle of portal spawn proofing going wrong. We need to make sure there are as little 1x4 flat areas in the space that we choose as possible in order to get the special forced portal here. So the best way to do this is to find a large lava lake in the nether with a high ceiling. This will give you the best chance of getting a force portal right off the bat with no effort at all. So in the entire height of the dimension, there needs to be this whole 33x33 area that is pure lava on the bottom and no blocks anywhere else until the high roof. It is very important that you don't gloss over this step and try and make the farm somewhere else, because it will be a huge hassle to try and portal proof it. You'll want to make sure that it doesn't look like there are any caves on the ceiling in this area from what you can tell visually. If you play with FreeCam, going up in here is incredibly easy to double check as well. Additionally, you might want to make sure that there's no tunnels or anything below the lava lake, but most of them go pretty deep. And yes, this area does include above the bedrock ceiling, so you want to make sure that that is also portal proof as well. It's also important to note that you must start from fully mended started and follow the configuration for your pick type and enchantment in order for your pick to not break. You don't need efficiency 5 at all for the farm to work, but your rates will be pretty abysmal without it. Unbreaking is more necessary because it allows you to have the exact same storage that I have here, which is very nice that you won't have to do it yourself. But there are different storage configurations in the chart, which I will outline here again. So choose the one that matches your pick best and then continue with building the farm. So on some of these configurations, there will be different amounts of pre-fill in the chest. Make sure that you don't ignore those or it may cause your pickaxe to break. And I'll give an example of what one of these looks like in the tutorial for those who want to make that option. For those wanting the maximum rates that only come with a beacon, keep in mind that you'll need to portal proof that beacon whenever it is around in this area like this screenshot will show you. And this is once again making sure that there are no 1x4 block areas on it. Beacons can pass through bedrock and you'll just need a little tunnel going up to the bedrock to make sure that the haste gets down here where you need it to be. So with all that out of the way, let's jump into the block by block. So if you've been around my channel a little while, you know that I don't usually speak during tutorials, but things have changed. There's a few specific things in this process, so I'm going to help walk you through it step by step. And also, I no longer believe that enough of you know how to read. So you've already seen the brief materials list, and I'll go over it just real quick. These are all the things that you're actually going to need to build the obsidian farm. You're going to need this pickaxe, and you're going to need at least 10 of any food. Down here are kind of some optional things, but I would recommend having most of them. You might want a bow and arrow to take care of gas, because the odds are some of them are going to affect you a little bit during this build. You also are probably going to need at least 3 stacks of any temporary block. Moss is a great choice because it's easy to get a lot of it, and also a potion of fire resistance is also just generally a good idea to have if you're in the nether. Additionally, this tutorial is going to be for elytra users because most people have an elytra and it's much easier to do this way. However, you don't need an elytra to do this tutorial. You can do every step in this tutorial without an elytra. Just keep in mind that if you bridge to the farm, you're going to create a lot of 1x4 areas where a portal can spawn, so you're going to have to remove your bridge if you do manually go in there like that. And one more quick thing before we start, because I've built a little bit of buffer into the storage so that your pickaxe won't immediately break after it fills up. And this means that if you start with a fully minted pickaxe, then you can actually go through the tutorial if you don't mine a crazy amount of blocks while you're doing so, like maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 stacks is probably okay, and then you'll be safe to use that same pickaxe in the farm without it breaking. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go with our elytra into the place where we want to take our coordinate screenshot. So I want to kind of go in the middle of this lava lake where it doesn't look like there's any caves. You want to make sure the ceiling is as high as it possibly can be, ideally Y100 or higher, so that there is the best chance of there not being any caves up here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of easily glide towards in here and press F3 and then point our nose up a little bit to go really slow, and then just press F2 whenever you're comfortable with where you're at to take the screenshot. And so now we have a record of where exactly our coordinates are going to need to be. So now that we have that, we can go ahead and build a close nether portal nearby. Whenever you do this, you want to make sure that your Y coordinate is going to be a little bit above surface level, because if you don't, you might spawn well underground and it can kind of cause some issues. So now that we've done this, we're going to go ahead and build another portal right here. And you're going to do the cheap one unless you're bougie and have tons of obsidian, but I would wager that anyone making an obsidian farm probably doesn't have tons of obsidian yet. After this, you can make all the bougie portals you want. There we go. Now let's get this guy out of here and let's go through. So now we're going to pop out of the overworld a little ways away from where the farm overworld site is going to actually be. So now what you want to do is whenever you come through here, you're going to want to just go ahead and mine the portal out. You already have your screenshot of wherever the farm overworld site is going to be. So we're going to, after this, we're going to convert those coordinates real quick and head over there. But we need this obsidian first. All right, now we're going to go into our .minecraft folder, wherever that is for your instance, and we're going to find that screenshot we just took, and I'm going to overlay the coordinates on the screen of the nether. And so from going from the nether to the overworld, we're going to multiply the X and Z coordinate by 8 and just go there on the surface level. So for this, you'll just want to take the block coordinate. So where I'm going to is 4,784x and 2,912. We're going to go ahead and head there now. So give me a moment to get there as well. All right, so here we are. I'm at 47842912, which is my coordinate here. It's kind of leafy, so we're gonna build it right here on top of this. So I'm gonna go ahead and just build my portal there. Before I do so though, we need to press F3G in order to see the chunks. And it's a good thing I did so because this is kind of right on a chunk border. So all that you wanna do is just in the nearest whole chunk to this block, you wanna build the portal so that the frame blocks are entirely in this chunk. And you'll also want to make sure that the snow golem is in the same chunk as the portal frame blocks. So I'm going to put the 2 obsidian here. Wait, stop right there. Before you continue, this is an important message from Future Potato. You actually don't want to build that nether portal directly on the chunk border. Somehow this is the first time in this process that I had that happen, and it actually caused a weird issue later on in the tutorial that broke the farm. So what you want to do is you actually want to place that portal on the edge of the chunk with one block of air in between where the actual chunk border is compared to the frame. And this also goes from where the snow golem is. You want the snow golem to have one block in between it and the chunk border, wherever the chunk border is. So if that's over here, this is one block away from the snow golem. If it was on this side, you'd want the chunk border right in between these 2 blocks right here. I've done more thorough testing now, and if you follow this advice, the issue won't happen to you. So proceed with the tutorial and know that I got this part wrong, but everything else about the farm is exactly the same if you just don't have the overworld side placed right there. So let's get back to the video. Go ahead and make portal frame itself. The snow golem's gonna be right here, and over here on this side there's going to be the zombie in a boat. It won't matter if they're not in the chunk because they can still be targeted from lazy chunks. So give me a second just to kind of clear this out a little bit. So right now, before we go farther, we want to make sure that where we generate the nether side portal is going to become a force portal, or it can be easily portal proofed. There's a really rare chance that there might be a ton of caves that we might need to pick a different location, so we need to go in and check before we go ahead and get invested on this overworld side to make sure that it's where we want it to be. So let's light this and go in on the right side. The snow golem is going to shoot from this side. So I'm going to go and generate the portal right exactly in the middle here. And so as you can see, it has made the force portal. You probably don't want to hang out too long here because there's going to be some gas. So I would go ahead and go back through instantly if you can. So if you picked a good spot in the nether to take your initial coordinate screenshot, then almost all of you should have generated a force portal. However, there is always a chance that you end up in a place like this where there are some caves above the roof that you weren't quite sure were there. So let me give you my advice if this happens to you. If you do have free cam, this process becomes much easier. So I can show you exactly where my portal spawned in relation to where I took this particular coordinate screenshot. This is whenever I was doing some testing, and I took the screenshot right about in the middle of this lava lake right here. As you can see, the ceiling looks pretty high. You can't see any caves, so I thought this would probably be all right. What FreeCam tells me is that this is basically on the edge of the portal search area, so I would really only have to portal proof, you know, maybe like, I don't know, 5 or 6 blocks deep of this in order to prevent this portal from being right here. However, you can always just go to a different location if you don't feel like portal proofing at all, which is probably a little bit easier if I'm being honest. If I wanted to portal proof this space, once again, we just have to make sure that there are no 1x4 flat areas here, which is kind of tricky. So you can just kind of break up the flat ground. And so if there's like 4 here, you can start just digging out in like little groups of 3. It's really not too bad, but it requires you to use your brain just a little bit and to break up these particular areas, and see that became one. So then we can do that. So it may take some trial and error. It might take, you know, 5 or 10 minutes depending on the size of this. However, if I spawned up here and I didn't have free cam and I see this large cave, I probably would just give up and go try and take the screenshot at a different lava lake or a different part of the lava lake if it's big enough. And as far as if you have spawn proofed a small area and you want to go back through this portal and not have this link anymore, if you have TNT, you could step into the portal frame, light the TNT just before you're about to go to the other side, and that would explode the portal frame and break it. You could also just mine out the portal frame and then dig down out, and then you could go back through the first portal that you built to access it, in which case this was my first portal that I made in order to start going to the other side where the real coordinates would be. All in all, you have a few options, but there's never anything wrong with just going to a new place to restart. So now we're good to go and go ahead and construct this overworld side. So I'd get the blocks and the boat in your hotbar, and we're gonna go back over here. We're gonna clear a spot for the zombie to sit a little bit of ways away from this portal, just because if he's really close, he's gonna hit you every time you do need to travel through here, which is not really ideal. So I would go ahead and put, you know, a few blocks right over here where the boat can sit on, and you're going to want to make sure that above these there's also blocks so that the zombie doesn't take any damage from the sun. It helps to have 4 just to give yourself a little bit of leeway. Right here the zombie's not really going to mess with us if we go through the portal, so we'll be fine. And so right here we're going to go ahead and get a boat placed on this platform. You're also probably going to want to have some blocks here to lead the zombie onto the boat easily. So we're going to be trailing the zombie behind us, and we're going to go through here, and the zombie's going to chase us and it's going to go into the boat instead. So now we need to wait until nighttime, and we need to find a zombie to put in here. So let me go ahead and simulate that real quick. So whenever it becomes nighttime, you can go ahead and fly up in the sky to kind of have the despawn sphere get some guys over here. You may need to fight off a few other mobs, which is not really a big deal most of the time if you know what you're doing. There should be a zombie. There he is. Okay, so you want to get a guy tailing you just like this and make sure he comes after you. There we go. And just run past your boat. And the zombie will come towards you and he'll get sucked right in just like that. And then you can sleep. If you want to make sure you're okay during the daytime, you can fly way up high so that all the mobs will despawn before you go back down, and then you'll know that there's no hostile mobs down there anymore. Alright, so we've got our guy in a boat, and he's not going to despawn. He has the blocks above his head, so he's fine. He will hit us if we get too close, but you can access this portal without him, which is the important part. So now we're going to want to get our snow golem in place. Go ahead and make sure there's a block here. Remove this block, and then you're going to want to place blocks like I'm placing them. One here, one here, one here. We're also going to do one right here on top. And then real quick, we're going to remove this one, and we're going to place 2 snow blocks right here, and then the carved pumpkin on this side, which will automatically set the snow golem in there. And as you can see, he is shooting at the zombie already, which is really great. Now we're going to take the fence gate, place it right here, take the one piston that we already have, put it like this, and push it in front of the snow golem with a lever, just like so. And so that will make our on-off switch right here. You can barely hear it. My mob sounds are really down, but he's shooting now. And now he's not shooting. So the fence gate works, which is excellent. So now go ahead and mine these back up and get them back into your inventory. Place the block right here and put that lever on this block right here. Anywhere on this block is fine. You can just do it so that you power the lever. So now you can see that whenever you power that lever, he can shoot, and whenever you unpower the lever, he'll close the fence gate and now he can't shoot anymore. So just keep in mind, powered is on, unpowered is off, and for right now, we're going to want to leave this powered. And there's one more thing that we need to do before we go into the nether. Go ahead and press F3G again to see the chunk borders. And so what we're going to do is inside the chunk with the snow golem and the portal frame blocks, we're going to dig a hole that is exactly 7 blocks deep. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Place a soul sand here, and then we're going to get the water buckets. Place one at the top of your enclosure, and don't waterlog a leaf like I did. You can press shift if that does happen to you, and then the water will come down, and we'll go ahead and be placing our water sources from the bottom up here. As you're doing this, you can know that you get every single block with a source because the bubbles will push you up slowly like this. You can make an infinite source up here, or there's a little bit of water next to where I'm at, so I'm just gonna go get some. And so once you get to the top, you'll see the bubbles coming through all the way like this, and then you'll go ahead and take your pearl and toss it in here. Okay, so now that we have the overworld finalized, we're gonna go ahead and go through right here, making sure that the lever is powered. First thing we need to do is take some temporary blocks and just pillar up here real quick, and then we'll place one of our polished tuff or whatever your building block of choice is up here. So then we'll go back down and we will just mine out one of these obsidian right here to test the regeneration. And so it regenerated in right exactly the same spot, so we know that this is exactly where we can build it. If your portal did regenerate in a slightly different spot, just dig out the old portal here and go by where the new one went, because that's where the snow column is going to generate it every time. From my experience though, usually this is going to be in the same exact place as your first one, but there's a small chance it's not. And this is the tricky part where you may need an elytra for, or at least it's a lot easier with an elytra. There's a few other ways you could do it. We need to place 3 temporary blocks down underneath this portal. And so you can either bridge from the side and do that if you don't have an elytra, or if you do have an elytra, you can just pull this move where you place a few down and then go back up a little bit. It's really not too bad to do. Just point your crosshairs up and there we go. There's 3. So now that you have those 3, just go back to the platform and then you're going to just fall down here and create a little platform at the very base that you can stand on and that we can start building from. So it doesn't matter directionally, but on either side below this block right here, on this platform that is 3 down, we're going to go ahead and break 2 blocks like this and put a double chest here. And then behind it, we're going to place a hopper pointed into this chest. Then we're going to do the same exact thing above. And this is, of course, if you're using the version with the fully enchanted netherite pickaxe. So keep in mind that storage can be different, and we'll go through that at the end. And so above this, we're going to want to point a hopper into this hopper and then break these blocks and place 1 hopper pointed into that as well. So that's where we will be mining, is over those 2, and the obsidian will all go down into here. So next we need to place a block right here, a block right here. I would probably refrain from putting the comparator here just in case we do get gasted in a little bit. And next you're going to want to put a temporary block up here. We're going to place any trap door here so that it can flip up and down like so. And then we're going to keep it flipped down, take our blocks back, and then we're going to place a piston facing up right here. And quickly we're going to go ahead and close off this area just like so. And this is just so that we don't get gasted and we don't want to lose any of our items here, which would be very unfortunate. And we're just going to block up this whole area. And you can take these out if you want to. You don't have to, but it's nice to do. So then we have this whole area basically blocked off, which is really nice. And now before we continue, we need to get all this moss off of here if you don't want it to be sticking out the side. So we'll go ahead and mine that out. There we go. And so then we're going to place up 2 blocks right here as well. And we're going to place another block right here. And after that, we're going to just place more blocks on top of all of these spaces here. And then we'll go ahead and close off the top like so. And on this side, you'll want to go ahead and place 1 block here and then blocks up this way. And this is just so that that snowball does come out this side, it will hit those and stop and not be built up on the edge of lazy chunks when you aren't here. And that's all that's required for this side. So let's go ahead and build the blocks on the other side. So just go straight through the portal, and over here, we're going to place a temporary block on here and then place your real block there. Of course, I would recommend having all these be stone just so that if a ghast fireball does hit them, then you're not going to have them be just completely blown up. They'll still stay here. And all you need is a simple 3x3 right here. And you can go ahead and mine out this block right here. And then lastly, we'll place the comparator pointed into the piston like this. And this is, of course, the readout for whenever we get full. It'll push the player up, and then our crosshairs will be on the portal block, so we can't mine anymore. And you can access storage right through this nifty little trap door, which makes it so that you don't have to interact with gas very much, which is really nice. You want to make sure that there's not anything in here before you get started as well. So if we're on single player mode, then you are completely done, and this thing is ready to use. However, if you are on a server, I'm going to show you something that you actually do need to do before you can start this farm, unfortunately, just because there's a little bit of an issue with weird item collection whenever I ran this on my fabric server without this fix. So to do this fix, we're going to go back to the overworld. We're going to need an extra minecart with hopper, and we're going to need only 2 rails and any temporary block to build with. So it's not really that expensive to make this adjustment. You're going to need your pickaxe with you and a flint and steel to restart the portal as well. So you're going to stop the generation in the overworld because we need to break the portal on the nether side really quick, not have it regenerate. And what we're going to do now that we're over here is we're going to break any 1 block over here of the portal itself, except for this block right here. So you need to leave that block there. So go ahead and break the side just so that the portal doesn't generate anymore. So we'll just place a temporary block here, 2 rails like so, and then a minecart with hopper on the slanted portion. If you press F3B, it'll help you see where the hitbox exactly is. So we're just going to crouch and gently push this hopper minecart through that obsidian right there. So now we can't move it anymore. It's right exactly where we need it to be. And so then we're going to take those rails and that temporary block out. It may fall into your hopper, so make sure and check your storage after this. So now we're completely fine, and we need to get that obsidian back that we had. Thankfully, we have a little bit of extra from our process, and then we'll place that back and relight the portal and then get our rails out of storage real quick. There we go. There is only 1. So now we go back through the portal, and then we will restart the generation. And then now we will head back, and we're good to go ahead and start mining in our farm on multiplayer. And so you don't have to worry about breaking the minecart. If you just hold down the mouse, it's going to work like normal. Oh, and one last thing I forgot, you're probably gonna need some blocks right here too, just to kind of get out of sight of the gas. So you can kind of block line of sight as much or as little as you want. I mean, you can do like that. It helps to have a little spot where you can kind of maybe jump onto or off of this top part right here. So do with that what you will. You can place a block here if you want to, it's not really necessary. But yeah, we're about finished and we can go ahead and start obsidian farming. So the way we're gonna actually farm to be safe is we're gonna get 10 of any food item in our off hand, and we're gonna get our pickaxe in our main hand, and then we're going to hold down left click and right click at the same time, and then we're going to press F3T to do the F3T trick. And what this will do is this will rebind both of our mouse buttons and it will press them continuously. So as you can see, I'm still mining and I'm at the same time holding right click so that whenever I do eventually start to get hungry from mining these blocks, then I will actually eat the sweet berries. And it will also mine the blocks continuously until storage fills up. And remember, just refer to the chart if you want to know exactly how much time it is until your specific storage configuration fills up. So now I'm going to hop into creative with the goal of showing you how the different storage configurations will work for different versions of the farm. So just keep in mind that for every single tool in this chart, there are a lot of different configurations for them. This chart is for if you don't want to break the tool. With that in mind, we'll go if you have a diamond pickaxe and you don't want to break your diamond pickaxe. This will be for one hopper and one chest with 9 slots of that chest taken up. So this is for the hoppers underneath this one right here. So we have one hopper and one chest underneath this downwards facing hopper. And so what we'll do is we'll get 9 slots right here taken up. And so that means the rest of this and this hopper will fill up with obsidian and then we will stop. And that's because that type of pickaxe can't mine as many blocks before it breaks. And a different configuration for a diamond pickaxe with efficiency 5 and unbreaking 3. This will be one single chest with a hopper and then another double chest with a hopper underneath that with no items on the inside. But you may also notice on the chart that there's a column for how many blocks to mine, and this one is actually set to 3. So that means we need to mine 3 blocks of obsidian in a row instead of just 2. And in order to do that, while the player is here, we'll have to point our crosshairs just a little bit on this side, and we'll mine 1, 2, 3 instead for that. So we'll need to change these hoppers down below. So all we have to do is just get rid of this hopper right here because we won't be mining that block anymore, and place hoppers facing into this one like so. And so that will let us collect all of the obsidian that we're going to be using from this farm on this configuration for mining 3 blocks. And if you're on a server, the hopper with minecart won't be over here anymore. It will be on this block of obsidian right here. So I think it's fairly easy to see how this works here, and I don't think I have to go into any more detail. That's just a very simple way of changing the configuration at the bottom based on what type of pickaxe and enchantment level and beacon level that you're using. And one more optional thing you can do is just spawn proof all of these spaces. You don't have to do this by any means. If you're paranoid, then I guess go ahead. So I hope that this farm treats you better than it has treated me. I swear this is like the 5th time making this tutorial and something has gone wrong with editing every single time, and it has been like catastrophic and I have to redo everything. It's been probably the most frustrating simple tutorial I've ever made on this channel, and that's saying quite a bit. So if you made it this far, thanks for watching. I have some really exciting ideas for my next video. It's going to be a cool combination of Minecraft for the people and yet also doing some aesthetic builds and some more intense redstone at the same time of a more complex system. Make sure you stay tuned for that. If you do have any questions with this farm, please go in my Discord and ask questions there. I have a dedicated help channel for every single farm that I've made, and in these help channels, believe it or not, people ask the same questions all the time and I have to answer the same questions all the time. So I have a pinned FAQ in these channels that you can search up anytime you like and get all the answers for all the most common questions without even having to bother anyone at all. It's fantastic. So please be the type of person who looks at the pinned FAQ and finds an answer. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.